You found Kalo, 8:80 a.m. I'm Arla, and for the duration of this show, I'll hold your hand as I drag you through the dark and untamed. The night service begins now. It's May 8th, 1989, 11:06 p.m. The rain has finally loosened its grip on Cedar Bend, but it didn't let go before the river climbed over its banks, swallowed a generous portion of Church Road, and returned something that the sheriff's office had stopped expecting to find. We'll discuss that unfortunate delivery a little later. First, I'll tell you about the drink I had at the Split Cedar, and the charming bartender who served it to me. He told me quite a bit about our recently departed federal guests, though not nearly as much as the jukebox did. After that, we'll discuss Cedar Bend's sudden abundance of spiders, and the terribly creative places they've decided to settle. And as usual, I'll open the telephone lines to anyone with something true to tell me. Before we begin, Lila, if you're listening, which I know you are, I'd appreciate you returning my favorite coffee mug. You can leave it on the porch. There's no need to knock. The Split Cedar sits just beyond the old mill, tucked between the road and a wall of trees tall enough to hide anything with a good sense to stay hidden. It's the sort of bar people will visit when they don't want to be seen drinking, which means everyone in town already knows exactly who goes there. The wooden sign over the door has been split directly through the painted tree in its center. I assumed that was intentional, until the bartender told me that lightning had struck it back in 1964. The interesting part is that the bar was not built until about 1971. When I pointed that out, he smiled, and he told me the building has always been a little behind. His name is Merritt. I don't believe I've seen him around town. Maybe he's nocturnal. He didn't offer me a last name. I didn't offer him the satisfaction of asking for one. Merritt is difficult to place. He has the smooth face of someone who's not yet reached 40, and the patient eyes of someone who watched 40 come and go several times. He wears his dark hair combed neatly away from his face, and a white shirt without a single wrinkle, and a black vest that never seems to collect the cigarette smoke hanging over everyone else. He is handsome, in the way that an unlocked door is inviting. You understand the appeal while also recognizing the warning. I took a seat at the far end of the bar and asked for a whiskey. Before I could tell him which kind, Merritt placed my preferred bottle on the counter. Not the most popular bottle or the most expensive, but mine. I asked whether we had met before. He looked at me for a moment and said, "Not here." And then he laughed and apologized and told me that I simply looked like a woman with a very particular taste. I decided I would accept that answer because he had already poured the drink. The Split Cedar's jukebox stands against the back wall beside a dead cigarette machine. It's an older model with cloudy glass, yellowed song cards, and strips of red light glowing weakly around its edges. There's a handwritten sign taped above the coin slot. It reads, "No refunds. She plays what she likes." At first, she seemed to like country music. A slow song played while three men near the pool table argued over whether a shot had counted. Then the record scratched. The music stopped, and a woman's voice came through the speaker instead. She said, "You promised you wouldn't go there again." One of the men holding a pool cue went perfectly still. A man's voice answered her through the jukebox, seemingly his voice. It said, "You won't know unless someone tells you." The man set down his cue, left his unfinished beer on the table, and walked out without his coat. No one followed him. No one seemed especially surprised. Merritt polished a glass and told me the jukebox occasionally becomes bored with the music. I asked how it could repeat a private conversation that had clearly taken place somewhere else. He leaned closer and said, "People think she repeats them. She doesn't. She just remembers it all." I asked what the difference was. He smiled at me again. "Repeating requires hearing something first." How charming. I moved on to a safer subject. Our visiting FBI agents. According to Merritt, they spent several evenings at the Split Cedar after their official work was done. They drank cheap beer, complained about the Steelhead Motel, and spoke with the confidence of men who believed people would bend to their badges. The jukebox decided to chime in then. It clicked loudly behind me, though no one had fed it a coin, and a different man's voice crackled through the speaker this time. "We should have gone 2 days ago." And then another answered, "Goodwin's hiding something." And then a third voice said, "Everyone here is hiding something." There was a pause filled with a soft scrape of a bottle against the wood. Then one of them said my name. Just Arla. No accusation followed it. There was no explanation. Only my name, spoken with the exhausted irritation of someone who has been thinking about me longer than he intended to. The jukebox returned to its country song before I could hear anything more. Merritt informed me that nearly all the agents packed their polished shoes and wrinkled suits into their government cars and left Cedar Bend early yesterday morning. The Bureau did, however, leave one behind. The one who's been sleeping in his car and questioned me over breakfast at the Junko Diner. I believe his name is Agent Sebastian Watts. Apparently, poor judgment is not grounds for dismissal. I finished my whiskey and asked Merritt what he thought the agent was still looking for. He said, maybe he found it. As I stood to leave, Merritt told me he would see me next Thursday. I had not planned to return next Thursday, but perhaps now I will. Now, onto the spiders. Over the last 4 days, residents have reported finding them inside of cereal boxes, sealed jars, soda bottles, coffee makers, ovens, and one particularly unfortunate toaster. They're not one consistent species. Some are small and pale with bodies nearly transparent beneath the kitchen light. Others are thick, black things with hairy legs and abdomens that leave wet marks when dragged across the countertop. They do share one charming quality, though. No one can explain how they got inside all of our homes. Mrs. Connolly purchased a sealed jar of peaches from the general store on Saturday. When she twisted the lid off, she found dozens of spiders pressed beneath the glass, their bodies suspended in syrup. They were alive. Slow, certainly, and sticky, but alive. Mr. Harlan discovered several inside of a bottle of beer, only after one became wedged in the neck of it and blocked his drink. He assumed it was a piece of sediment, and he shook the bottle. The sediment unfolded its legs. He didn't finish the beer. That may be the first responsible decision Mr. Harlan has made this year. Good job, Mr. Harlan. The Junko Diner has stopped using its largest coffee maker after the newest waitress, Rosemary, removed the filter basket and found it packed with webbing. Not delicate little strands, a dense, wet wad of it. It stretched from the machine in gray ropes and clung to her hands like cooling sugar. Several spiders dropped from inside of the water chamber while she was cleaning it. Frederick has assured everyone that the smaller coffee pot is perfectly safe. I'm sure that's comforting. The most unpleasant report came from Elaine Weller on Birch Street. Elaine had already emptied her cupboards after finding a nest inside of an unopened box of powdered milk. She threw away every bit of food in her kitchen, scrubbed the shelves, and spent all night at her sister's home. The next morning, Elaine woke with a tickling sensation behind her nose. She assumed it was dust. Then her nose began to bleed. Her sister found her leaning over the bathroom sink, pinching her nostrils and coughing hard enough to bruise her ribs. Something moved beneath the skin beside Elaine's nose. Not a twitch or pulse, but several tiny points pressed outward from inside her cheek and traveled slowly toward her upper lip. When Elaine opened her mouth to scream, the first spider crawled over her tongue. It was slick with mucus, its pale legs slipping against her teeth as it searched for somewhere dry. A second spider pushed through her left nostril. Its abdomen was too large to fit cleanly, so it folded its legs and used one to drag itself through in slow, wet movements while the fine hairs on its leg caught against the rim. Then another came, and another, and Elaine's sister counted 11 before she stopped trying. Some crawled freely from Elaine's mouth. One felt a bit too comfortable staying in the warmth of her mouth and remained there until Elaine bit down. Her sister described the sound as a soft pop. The spider's body burst between Elaine's teeth and left a dark smear across her gums and teeth. So before you pour yourself another drink tonight, look closely at the bottle. Check the seal, as if that means anything to the spiders. And if you feel something tickling the back of your throat, try not to swallow it. The rain has slowed, but the river is still swollen. Early this morning, floodwater carried branches, fence posts, half of a chicken coop, and one missing man into the northern bend near Church Road. His name was Caleb Connors. Caleb was one of the 4 outsiders reported missing in April. He was last seen purchasing gasoline before heading toward the coast. Like the others, he never made it out of Cedar Bend. 2 county workers found his body tangled in the exposed roots of a cedar tree just after sunrise. At first, they mistook him for a pale sack caught beneath the branches. Then his knee jerked into a bend. Caleb's body was severely bloated. His face had swollen until his eyes were reduced to a narrow, dark seam. His tongue protruded between his lips that were stretched thin and purple. The skin over his stomach was bloated tightly enough to reflect the morning light. Despite being missing for less than 3 weeks, portions of him had softened far beyond that timeline. One of the workers entered the water and took hold of Caleb's wrist. The skin slid away beneath his fingers. Not a small piece of skin. The entire outer layer from the wrist to the fingertips slipped free like a wet glove, leaving the worker holding a hollow copy of Caleb's hand. Caleb drifted loose from the roots and rolled face up in the current. His exposed hand flexed. All 5 fingers curled inward. The worker screamed and dropped what he was holding. The discarded skin floated beside the body until both were caught in the retrieval net. Sheriff Goodwin's men pulled Caleb into the bank beneath a green tarp. While they waited for the coroner, his right leg repeatedly drew toward his chest and relaxed. His jaw opened and closed. Each time it opened, river water spilled over his tongue. One deputy claimed Caleb's fingers closed around the edge of the green tarp when they attempted to cover his face. The coroner confirmed that Caleb was very dead. Not recently dead, not barely dead, completely and generously dead. He had no pulse and no breath and no remaining blood willing to circulate. His movements were dismissed as postmortem contractions caused by cold water and decomposing tissue. A perfectly reasonable explanation. Bodies twitch and the muscles tighten. Gas might even escape. Dead men occasionally bend their knees, open their mouths, and take hold of whatever tries to cover their faces. It happens all the time. Caleb continued moving after he was transported to the medical examiner's room. Every few minutes, his toes curled beneath the sheet. His shoulders lifted from the table. At 9:14 this morning, his swollen chest rose in a single violent motion, but nothing followed it. There was no breath or heartbeat, only a mouthful of river water sliding down the side of his face. The sheriff's office has not announced the cause of death yet. And as I told our remaining FBI agent, I'm not going to be snitching on my source. I hope Agent Watts packed some clothes that are a bit more comfortable than those black suits he's been wearing. We've reached that portion of the evening where I open the telephone lines. You don't have to give me your real name. You don't have to tell me exactly where you are. I only ask that whatever you tell me after that is true. The number is 555-0880. You've reached the night service. What's keeping you awake tonight?
Arla?
That is who usually answers.
I don't want to tell you my name.
Okay, then don't.
It knows it.
All right. What would you like me to call you?
Wrong voice. I guess you can call me Wrong Voice.
Hello, wrong voice. Tell me what knows your name.
Something that sounds like me.
Oh? Tell me what happened.
Last night I couldn't sleep. I was lying in bed and I heard someone outside my window.
Was it someone walking by?
No. Talking.
And what did they say?
My name. At first, it only said my name a few times to get my attention. Then it said, "Come outside. I found something."
And you said this voice sounded like yours.
Exactly like mine. Not close. Not someone doing an impression. It was my voice. But it felt wrong.
Tell me what was wrong about it.
The pauses. It knew the words, but it didn't know where a person would breathe. It would inhale in the middle of my name and then say the rest too quickly.
Well, did you go outside?
I know I shouldn't have. I opened the back door and stood on the porch. There was something at the other end of the yard, beside the fence.
And could you see it clearly?
Clearly enough. It looked like a person from far away. It had 2 arms, 2 legs, a head, but everything was held too carefully. Its arms hung perfectly straight, Its feet pointed directly forward. Its head was tilted, but it didn't sway or breathe. Then it started walking toward me.
Did it move quickly?
No, it moved slowly, like it was thinking about every step before it took it. It placed one foot down, waited, then moved the other. It kept using my voice. Come look, come look, come look.
And what did you do then, wrong voice?
I couldn't move. It reached the middle of the yard and stopped. Completely stopped. For maybe 10 seconds, maybe a minute. It just watched me.
So you could see its eyes then?
Sometimes.
Oh? Why sometimes?
Its face kept changing. Not changing like an expression. 1 second it had my face, then the eyes were lower beside the mouth, then there was nothing but skin, then the mouth stretched across the whole thing. It kept switching too fast for me to understand completely what I was seeing. Then it ran at me.
Without warning?
It went from perfectly still to sprinting. Its legs bent wrong when it ran. Its knees kept snapping inward, but it was so fast. The closer it got, the more its face broke apart. My voice turned into this horrible shriek. It sounded like metal dragged over glass and an animal being crushed at the same time. All I could do was close my eyes and crouch down. I covered my head. Then it was morning.
So you lost consciousness?
I don't know. I woke up curled in the grass in my backyard.
When you woke up, were you injured?
No.
Did your vocal doppelganger leave any footprints?
No.
Do you know if anybody else heard that shriek?
No.
Do you have anything that shows another person or animal entering your yard?
I remember it. I remember every second.
Memory can feel very convincing.
You don't believe me.
I believe that you're frightened. That isn't quite the same as believing what frightened you.
It happened.
And it may have. You may have also experienced a night terror. Or maybe you were sleepwalking.
I don't sleepwalk.
Most people are not reliable witnesses to their own behavior.
I know how the grass felt. I know how it smelled. I can still hear that sound.
Dreams are capable of texture, and fear is capable of leaving an echo.
What if it comes back?
Are you alone tonight?
Yes.
Is there maybe someone you trust who would let you stay with them?
Maybe.
Call them when we hang up. Tell them you're in desperate need of comfort and another set of eyes.
I keep thinking I can hear it outside.
Is it speaking to you now?
No.
Then don't give the silence a voice it hasn't earned.
And if it does call me again?
Let it call you. It already has your voice, so you don't need to answer it.
Okay. I'll call someone.
Good. I think that's a great idea.
Thank you, Arla.
I hope you have a good night, wrong voice. Lock the door before you make that call. Good night.
Good night.
Well, listeners, the phone is quiet, the river is slowly returning to its banks, and somewhere in Cedar Bend a jukebox is repeating something it was never told. Before you sleep, shake out the spiders from your pillowcases, and if you hear a familiar voice calling from somewhere just beyond your door, let it finish talking to itself. This is Arla, signing off from KLO 880 AM. The night service has ended. Good night.